Hello and welcome to Right Sports Talk. My name is Zach. We've officially made it through 6 weeks of the UFL regular season, meaning we only have 1 month left. We're in that final stretch, about the last month of regular season action for the UFL. In week 6, with my picks, I went 4-0, giving me an overall record of 15-9 on the season. Now, let's get into these picks for week 7. Week 7 of UFL action kicks off this Friday, May 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox as the Columbus Aviators, who are 2-4, take on the St. Louis Battlehawks, who are 4-2. Columbus coming off of a victory over the Houston Gamblers. St. Louis coming off of a victory over the Louisville Kings. Against Houston, Columbus did exactly what they needed to win. They got their very good run game going. They played pretty good defense. Jalen McClendon didn't really turn the ball over. He played a very efficient football game. They did what they needed to win. Now, St. Louis and their victory over Louisville, their offense continues to play good. Harrison Frost continues to have very efficient games, very good games, but still had an interception. He's thrown at least one interception in every single game he's played in this season. But their defense has really stepped up and helped be a difference maker for them in that game. Harrison Frost did have a couple of touchdown passes. The running game, Jarvion Howard had 56 yards rushing, so not great, but still a pretty efficient run game for them. This game, I think, could be a very close, very competitive game, as Columbus, who is the number one rushing offense in the entire UFL, goes against the number one rush defense in the UFL of St. Louis. So we can see really which team can really find a way to win. If Columbus has their running game taken away, what can they do offensively? And for St. Louis, as good as their defense is, stopping the run, what do they do if Columbus can throw the ball? And what do they do if Columbus can get takeaways, as teams have got takeaways from St. Louis? As I mentioned, Harrison Frost has thrown interceptions in every game that he's played in. But, I think this will be a good game. I think this could be a very close game. But my pick for this game is going to be the St. Louis Battlehawks. I just really trust their defense to really get their offense out of whatever jam they could get in. Even if their offense starts slow, I think their defense can keep it a very low-scoring game, and can allow their offense time to really get going, as their offense is very good at making explosive plays. I think Harrison Frost, again, should have a pretty good game, or if he starts to struggle, maybe they put in Luis Perez, and that'll provide a spark to this offense. But either way, I think that their defense will be the big difference maker in this game, and potentially taking away what Columbus does best in their run game. So I think that St. Louis gets the victory here against Columbus. Your next game is Saturday, May 9th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, also on Fox, as the Louisville Kings, who are 2-4, take on the DC Defenders, who are 5-1. Louisville coming off of that loss to the St. Louis Battlehawks. DC coming off a win over the Dallas Renegades. Louisville, in their loss to St. Louis, could not get anything going offensively. A week after playing Dallas and having the best rushing performance of the season, they go out and they have one of their worst, I think their worst rushing performance, as I believe they had only 12 total rushing yards. Chandler Rogers did not play bad, but just wasn't enough to overcome not having a run game. Their offense couldn't really get anything going. Their defense played well, but not well enough. They did, force a turnover, but it just wasn't enough to overcome the struggles of their offense. And DC continues to click on all cylinders. Their defense played very well against Dallas, forcing an interception from Austin Reed. Their offense continues to play well. Jordan Ta'amu continues to work back into his MVP form from last season. He continues to get better as the season goes on. My pick for this game is going to be the DC Defenders. Right now, they just look like the best team in the UFL. They look like the most complete team right now with how their offense is performing and how their defense is performing. There's not really an instance where, like St. Louis, their offense will struggle, but their defense continues to play very well, and that keeps them in games. Or there are, defense will give up some points, but their offense can make up for it. So they're a team that has been a very well-rounded team that has been able to um, play both, very good offense and very good defense, which has allowed them to win the last 5 games in a row. I think they make it 6 in a row this week. I think DC beats the Louisville Kings. Next up, also on Saturday, May 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, you have the Dallas Renegades, who are 3-3, taking on the Birmingham Stallions, who are 2-4. Dallas coming off of their loss to DC. Birmingham coming off of a big win over the Orlando Storm. Give them some momentum. For Dallas, they have now lost 3 games in a row, and in every single one of their losses, Austin Reed has turned the ball over. This past week against DC, they really couldn't get their run game going, which has kind of been the crux of their offense all season. Even games that Austin Reed has played well. And Austin Reed didn't have a bad game against DC. He did have a touchdown, but had 1 interception. But their running game could not get anything going. The running game has struggled for a big portion of the season. And their defense played not the best against DC, allowing them to look very good offensively. And the Birmingham Stallions, the story of their team, especially the past couple weeks, has been Dorian Thompson-Robinson as their quarterback. He played very well their first game against the DC Defenders, in his first start against the DC Defenders back in week 5, but ultimately they lost that game. And then he continued to bring that explosiveness, that very high talent level to this game, as he had with 270-ish yards and a touchdown. Just looked very good in his revenge game against the Orlando Storm. The big thing for Birmingham in this game, as well as DTR playing well and getting their offense clicking, was their defense forcing 3 turnovers that really swung the momentum and helped them get the victory. Now, my pick for this game is actually going to be the Birmingham Stallions. They are on a bit of an upward swing in momentum. Dallas has definitely been on the downward swing in momentum. I think that this defense is going to be able to get Austin Reed to make some mistakes, as past 3 weeks the defenses that he's played has done. I think they can slow down this struggling run game of Dallas. And then offensively, I think DTR continues to play well. He continues to show, his talent. He's got a bunch of offensive talent around him. Birmingham's problem early in the season was not a lack of talent. They've got all the talent in the world. They're, in my opinion, one of the more talented teams in the UFL, but they were struggling to put it all together. I think that now, with their offense clicking and their defense playing well the past couple weeks, I think they're really starting to put it together, and I do think that the Birmingham Stallions get the victory over the Dallas Renegades. Your final game of the UFL Week 7 regular season is Sunday, May 10th at 6 p.m. Eastern on FS1. The Orlando Storm, who are 4-2, taking on the Houston Gamblers, who are 2-4. Orlando coming off of that loss to Birmingham. Houston coming off of their loss to Columbus. For Orlando, their offense continues to play, very well. Looks good. Jack Plummer has been playing well, except for the fact they had a handful of turnovers this past week. KJ Hamler had a very good game this past week, had over 100 yards and a touchdown. Chris Rowland had a touchdown. He's been getting touchdowns in most of the games this season. Their offense is, playing well, but their defense struggled, and they struggled with turnovers this past week. And for Houston, Columbus was able to run all over them this past week, but defense wasn't playing the best. And offensively, Houston is very banged up at quarterback. Nolan Henderson suffered a leg injury this past week. So in addition to, playing with a broken finger on his throwing hand, dealing with that. Talua Tagovailoa also got a little banged up in that game. Hunter Deckers still hasn't played since week 2, since he sprained the AC joint in his shoulder. So they're really struggling at the quarterback position with just injuries and quarterbacks being beat up. They did sign John Rhys Plumlee this past week, a standout UCF a few years ago that played had a little bit of opportunity in the NFL with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I believe in training camp a couple of years ago. They brought in another depth piece at quarterback, but I don't know if even if he plays this week, I don't think he's really going to make much of a difference as he's new to the offense. So my pick for this game is going to be the Orlando Storm. Orlando, as I mentioned, has a very good offense with Jack Plummer. He has very good weapons in Chris Rowland, KJ Hamler, and Elijah Bagent. They have a very good running back and Jayshon Corbin can bust big runs really at any point in time. It can be a threat in the ground game. And defensively, I think they can get after whoever Houston has at quarterback. I think they can slow down Houston's run game, which really struggled this past week as well, and it has struggled at times this season. Orlando, I think as long as they don't have costly turnovers, which I don't think they'll really cough the ball up too much against Houston, I think that Orlando is a very good offensive football team. Their defense can play very well. I do think the Orlando Storm get the victory here. Let me know in the comments who you have winning this week. We are reaching a very exciting stretch of the UFL season as we are in really that playoff push. And we have, in my opinion, you have 3 teams at the top with the DC Defenders, the St. Louis Battlehawks, and the Orlando Storm really, are probably going to get 3 out of the 4 playoff spots. But then you have, teams like the Aviators and the Stallions and the Renegades really competing for that 4th playoff spot. I think it could be a very interesting, very competitive last month of the season, especially considering that Columbus and Birmingham still have to play each other twice in the past, in weeks 8 through 10. So I think this is a very exciting stretch of the season. I'm excited to see how it plays out. Let me know in the comments if there's any teams that you think are, which teams you think will make the playoffs, or if you're excited for the, final stretch of the regular season as we get towards that playoff push more. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe. Until next time.